Good morning. Welcome or welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. It is Tuesday, February the 11th, and we're here to look at new releases that have been published this week. We will get to as many of them as we can. There are a few, so we'll see how we do. Quick announcements. I do have sprints tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. They go for 2.5 hours. I do reading sprints 3 times a week, every Tuesday and Thursday evening and Saturday afternoon. Welcome. Coming from frozen Billings, Montana, it is currently -22, feels like -46. We are supposed to get to 10 above, so I'm currently wearing multiple layers, and we'll put them on or take them off as needed. Good afternoon, Helen. How's it going over there? All right. Today's new releases are crime fiction and thrillers, so the darker side of mystery world. This is called The Last Hamilton by Jen Bregman. After the last heir of Alexander Hamilton's line is murdered, her heartbroken husband and best friend team up in this twisty thriller, perfect for fans of Dan Brown and Sarah Penner. The more they know, the more danger they're in. When Elizabeth Walker, the last heir of the Alexander Hamilton line, is tragically killed by a subway train in New York, foul play is immediately suspected. Elizabeth had been terrified, frantic, and manic during her last days, running mysterious errands, searching for a strange antique key, and sending cryptic messages to her best friend, Sarah Brockman. The morning after Elizabeth's death, a box of tattered documents lands on Sarah's doorstep, confirming her suspicions about Elizabeth's strange behavior and shocking death. She brings the box to Elizabeth's grieving husband, Ralph. Working together, they are stunned to discover that Elizabeth was part of a secret society established by Hamilton himself to keep the United States just and free, its influence woven into every corner of the country's history. As Sarah and Ralph race through the streets of New York to uncover the truth behind Elizabeth's death, they must stop an ingenious and sinister plot before someone else catches up to them, and the secrets of Hamilton's society are lost forever. Well, that sounds like a Garbogist list for sure. Ugh, got something in my eye. Sorry. I don't think it's my hair, although my hair is getting quite long. Good morning, Mary. Oh my, I didn't know that the thermometer goes that low. It does. Not sure how you dress for that kind of weather. Layers, lots of layers. I've got 2 layers down below, not counting underwear. I've got 3 layers above, 2 on the feet. Just do what you do. And my coat is fabulous. I have fabulous hat, great gloves for going out in it, and I'll be wearing a hat when I'm inside. Yes, I work inside, but my office, the way it's situated, is hot in summer and cold in winter, and I have a heater going at all times, but still, I'm wearing multiple layers. Mary says hi to Helen, and Helen says hi back. Speaking of which, have you guys gotten snow, Mary? You said you might be expecting some. This next one I have actually gotten and started. It showed up on my Kindle at 10 p.m. per usual, and I was up in the middle of the night at one point, and I started to read this. This is The Queens of Crime by Marie Benedict. London, 1930. The 5 greatest women crime writers have banded together to form a secret society with a single goal: to show they are no longer willing to be treated as second-class citizens by their male counterparts in the legendary Detection Club. Led by the formidable Dorothy L. Sayers, the group includes Agatha Christie, now Marsh, Marjorie Allingham, and Baroness Emma Orczy. They call themselves the Queens of Crime. Their plan? Solve an actual murder, that of a young woman found strangled in a park in France, who may have connections leading to the highest level of the British establishment. May Daniels, a young English nurse on an excursion to France with her boyfriend, seemed to vanish into thin air as they prepared to board a ferry home. Months later, her body is found in the nearby woods. The murder has all the hallmarks of a locked room mystery for which these authors are famous. How did her killer manage to sneak her body out of a crowded train station without anyone noticing? That's not a locked door mystery. As the police believe the cause of death is manual strangulation, why is there an extraordinary amount of blood at the crime scene? What is the meaning of a heartbreaking secret letter seeming to implicate an unnamed paramour? Determined to solve the highly publicized murder, the Queens of Crime embark on their own investigation, discovering they're stronger together. But soon the killer targets Dorothy Sayers herself, threatening to expose a dark secret in her past that she would do anything to keep hidden. And I can tell you at this point, maybe it'll change, it is being told from the viewpoint of Dorothy L. Sayers. A bold move by this author. We shall see. He says, we are waiting on it to arrive, snowing in Lynchburg, which isn't that far from us, 100 miles or so. So it will arrive in a little bit, saying we'll get about 8 inches and then ice. Oh, no. They're going to call me around noon to tell me if they'll come tomorrow. I'm so sorry. They probably won't. To work on the new gas line, they won't be surprised if they have to postpone until next week. In the meantime, with 8 inches of snow and you don't have any heat, what are you doing? Do you need to check into a hotel? A friend? Girlfriend? I'm worried. The Wolf Tree by Laura McCluskey. Eileen Idar is a barren Winsept rock, best known for the unsolved mystery of the 3 lighthouse keepers who vanished back in 1919. But when a young man is found dead at the base of the same lighthouse, 2 detective inspectors are sent from Glasgow to investigate. Georgina George Lennox is happy to be back from leave after a devastating accident. That is, until she meets the hostile islanders and their enigmatic drinking game priest, who seemed determined to thwart their investigation. George's partner, Richie, just wants to close the case and head home to his family, but he hasn't heard the wolves howling or seen the dark figures at their window at night. He's too busy watching George, as if waiting for her to break. With the dark secrets of the island swirling around them, George and Richie must decide who to trust and what to believe as they spin closer to the terrible truth. Good blankets and space heaters. Just got my electric bill and it's a doozy. Ugh, never had one so high, even when running the AC, but worth it to have the space heaters running. True. Ooh. Would it be cheaper to go to a hotel? A Girl Like Us by Anna Sophia McLaughlin. It's 2004, and former reality TV star and party girl Maya Miller has just married the most eligible bachelor on the planet, Colin Sterling of the globally famous Sterling family, whose history of aristocratic titles and land holdings rival a British royal, and whose media empire is comparable to the Murdochs. To some, Maya represents the American dream. To others, a gold digger. But when Colin's cousin Ariana, the heiress to the family's immense fortune, is found murdered, Maya is thrust into the spotlight, first as she is revealed to be the next heiress to the fortune, and then as the prime suspect. Why is she the next heiress? Swiftly, the entire Sterling family goes into lockdown at Silver House, the family's ancestral estate in the English countryside. They're told it's for their own safety, but Maya becomes convinced that it's not to keep threats out, but to keep secrets in. Now she has no choice but to find and expose the truth hidden within the Sterling family, and why Ariana, a girl she had never met, chose her to take her place. But Maya has secrets of her own, and she knows that in order to survive the Sterlings, she'll have to beat them at their own game. End of row 1. Joe Nesbo has a new one. Translated by Robert Ferguson. Blood Ties. By all accounts, Carl and Roy Opgard are doing quite well for themselves, or at least they're doing as well as can be expected in a small town like Oss. Carl manages the area's swanky and successful spa and hotel, while Roy runs a nearby gas station and harbors grand plans to build it it out into an entire amusement park, complete with a roller coaster. But when the news breaks about a new highway to be built nearby, bypassing us and leaving the town cut off and isolated, it's clear that something has to be done, even if the methods are bound to be dirty. Fortunately, Carl and Roy have experience with just that kind of work. Meanwhile, the town sheriff has gotten his hands on new technology that will enable him to take a deeper look at a slate of unsolved murders from years past, including that of his own father. And just as the sheriff reopens his investigation, the death toll begins to climb. It's like Roy says about his roller coaster. Once it's rolling, it's too late to get off. He says it all the time. He's not a happy person to hang around with. Just saying. Left on Rancho. Like the cover on a girl like us. Yeah. And Joe Espo is very good. Left on Rancho by Francesco Paula. It's October 2019, and Andrew Eastman, a tech entrepreneur with a bank account running on fumes, has just ridden into Adelanto, a desolate outpost in the Mojave Desert, just to help an old friend, the Ask, turn around a fledgling legal cannabis operation. Andrew, the outsider, asks too many questions about the viability of the legal market, the inoperative surveillance cameras in the factory, and the dominance of the illegal trade, and makes himself a target. Undeterred, he journeys from Adelanto to West Hollywood to the underbelly of Los Angeles on a hunt for contraband. When he lands at the intersection of cannabis and immigration, and as bodies pile up around him, he is left with one last decision, one that will forever change him. Maybe not so much as solving crime, but as being in the crime world and trying to survive it. James Patterson's World, speaking of worlds, has a new one along with James O. Bourne. This is Paranoia by 17th in the Michael Bennett series. NYPD detective Michael Bennett will stop at nothing to protect his family, his wife, his kids, and his fellow officers in this latest psychological thriller, Blah. At every death scene, Bennett says a prayer over the victim, but recently too many of the departed have been fellow cops. I want you to look at these deaths on special assignment, NYPD Inspector Celeste Cantor says. Report only to me. Bennett excels as a solo investigator, but he's chasing a killer who feeds on isolation and paranoia. Short and sweet. I like that. Greg Hurwitz has a new one in the Orphan X series. I've not read any of those. Looks like lots of big names. Indeed, we like the big names. Nemesis by Greg Hurwitz, 10th in the Orphan X series. Evan Smoke is a highly trained former government assassin who has survived for years by keeping his circle to a few trusted confidants and a strict code he calls the Ten Commandments. But when Evan suddenly finds himself at odds with his oldest friend, all the rules he lives by shatter, and the consequences are murderous. Tommy Stojak might be Evan's best friend in the world. He's a gifted gunsmith who has created much of Evan's own weapons and combat gear. But now he has apparently crossed one of Evan's hardest lines, and their argument explodes into open warfare. Now Evan has no choice but to track and face down his only friend. In the meantime, Tommy has left town in order to honor his own promise to help a dead friend's son. While Tommy is fighting to save the son with everything he's got, Evan arrives with vengeance in mind. But as deadly as the former Orphan X is, there is an even more dangerous threat about to arrive on the scene. The only question left is, will any of them get out alive? End of row 2. Chad Zunker is the author of this one. Not Our Daughter. 13 years ago, Cole and Lisa Shipley were fostering an infant with hopes of adopting her. Overnight, everything was turned upside down when the child's mother bled to death on their front doorstep. Her last words, "He's coming here for her, save her." Afraid, bewildered, and with a baby in their arms, they fled. The longer they hid, the guiltier they looked. Now in a small Colorado town under assumed identities, they've been seemingly safe, but when a tip exposes them and Cole is framed for another murder, they take it on the run again, barreling across the western U.S., this time with a confused and resistant teenage girl awakening to a terrifying new reality. In the rear view is the relentless FBI agent who has never given up the hunt, and he's not the only one. Every frightening mile brings a family closer to the truth about that fateful night 13 years ago, and to a killer who's determined to finish what he started. Why would he want the baby? Nothing Ever Happens Here by Serafina Novaglass. Nothing ever happens in small towns. When Shelby Dawson survives a harrowing attack that should have left her dead, she tries to move past it for herself and for her family. 15 months later, with the help of her best friend, Mackenzie, she finally feels safe again in the snowy Minnesota town she calls home. But when an anonymous note appears on her windshield bearing the same threats her attacker made, Shelby realizes that her nightmare has only just begun. As new evidence surfaces, a group of well-meaning senior citizens accidentally makes the case go viral online. The situation quickly goes from bad to worse, and with suspicious accidents targeting those closest to her happening all over town, Shelby can't shake the feeling that she's being watched. Fighting to stay one step ahead of disaster, she finds herself asking the question on everyone's lips. Who attacked her that night? Etc. Lots of books to go through, so let's keep moving on. Steve Berry has a new one. 19th in the Cotton Malone series, The Medici Return. Cotton Malone is on the hunt for a forgotten 16th century pledge of Christ, a sworn promise made by Pope Julius that evidences a monetary debt owed by the Vatican, still valid after 5 centuries, now worth in the trillions of dollars. But collecting that debt centers around what happened to the famed Medici of Florence, a family that history says died out without heirs centuries ago. Who will become the next prime minister of Italy and who will be the next pope? Finding answers proves difficult until Cotton realizes that everything hinges on when and if the Medici return. Now, this should be on my Garbagus list. It is not. I read maybe one or two, I can't remember now, but he made disparaging political comment. I don't know why authors do that. But they sometimes just don't hide it. The Cul-de-sac by Christopher Null. How well do you really know your neighbors? Veteran serial killer Klaus Fischer is determined that his most recent murder will be his last, but like many retirements, this one isn't sticking. No one has come close to suspecting he's buried the victims on his quiet suburban California. I'm sorry, something must be an eyelash. California cul-de-sac property, but he's feeling the urge to kill again, and this time he set his sights on a target dangerously close to home. Widowed Peg Jurgensen has lived on the cul-de-sac for the past 15 years, and she's ready to shed her doldrums and re-enter the world around her. And where better to start than with mothering the curious young teen Eliza Van Donnell, whose family just moved to the cul-de-sac in order to expose their daughter to a better life. Eliza, however, prefers to coerce the enigmatic drinking game hermit next door, Alex, into helping her pass math. Alex wishes the lot of them would disappear. The closer these misfits become, the more danger even the most ordinary conversations invite. As the body count rises, can these residents trust anyone hiding behind their doors on this street? End of that row. We're not gonna make it. Tell Me You Trust Me by Ellie Owens. When her husband goes missing, Marissa Creighton fears the worst. Tell me you trust me was the last thing Ethan said to her, and she'd shrugged it off. Now she can't get those words out of her head. Marissa's family has always been her rock, but when they come to help with help her with 18-month-old Logan, their overprotectiveness borders on oppression, occupational hazard of the family surveillance business, or is it? Seeking comfort in the playlist she and Ethan share, Marissa is shocked to find a new song there, Trust Me. She's certain it's a message. Using song titles as code, she and Ethan start communicating back and forth, but she still doesn't understand why he left. While his messages point to incriminating documents, her family uncovers evidence of an affair, but their discoveries come with their own baggage, including personal threats, secret bank accounts, and dusty surveillance devices, all while Marissa wonders whether she'll ever learn the truth or see her husband again. Lauren Esselman has a new one, another big name. Smoke on the Water, 32nd in the Amos Walker series. As the smoke from Canadian wildfires chokes Detroit, PI Amos Walker is tasked with investigating a fatal hit and run. The victim is Spencer Bennett, a junior law associate with the Waterford Group, and he supposedly had a file of confidential documents on him when he died. But those documents have now gone missing, and the firm is dead set on Walker finding them. As Walker digs deeper into the events leading to Bennett's death, all signs are pointing towards the crash being anything but accidental. Summer in Detroit was hot enough before the smoke descended, but as the temperature rises and more bodies crop up in connection to the missing file, Walker will have to track down those documents and unearth why they are worth killing over before it's too late. And that is all we will have time for. Everybody remember where we parked. We will get back to those as best we can. Have you ever thought of writing a book? I bet you do an excellent job at one. I have thought about writing a book since I was in grade school. I love to think about them. I love to build the world. I just can't get it down on paper, but thank you. Thank you very much. All righty. Well, everybody, tomorrow we'll be looking at romance, and being Valentine's week, perhaps it is appropriate and we'll have some good ones to look at. We shall see. Again, I do have sprints tonight. Sorry, we do have sprints tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. They will go for 2.5 hours. Bring your own book, work on some hobby, or close your eyes after a day, whatever it is that makes you happy. Hope you come. And if you want to, bring a friend. We would love to grow. Everybody, stay warm, stay safe, and as the banner says here, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom nom. Have a good day. God bless.